It's Friday. It's pre-recorded. Now the show Dozens Love the 9 Years podcast.
Welcome to the 9 Years podcast. Nick Draper here with the face of the BBC Sport website, Mr. Stuart Deacons, and I'd just like to start by thanking you for downloading the show this week, and thank you to the thousands of you, literally thousands of you, that joined us last week for our season premiere episode. We're now on Fridays, of course. You can still catch us on YouTube, 9yrspodcast.org, iTunes as well. And long-term listeners of the show will remember that last year we had our 90s theme for the podcast. Well, we don't have a 90s theme, but that doesn't mean we can stop with our music quiz. So last year we'd ask you if you recognised the opening song to the show. Keep coming with it. We're going to keep doing it. At 9yrspodcast on Twitter, just let us know the artist and the title of this week's intro song. If you know the year it was released as well, let's see if you can chuck that one in without checking, without cheating on Google or anything like that. Of course, last week's show, we didn't do it last week, the music quiz, but for those of you that thought I recognised that song, you should have done. It was Friday, that classic, absolute classic, up there with the best songs of all time, from Rebecca Black, who was, or is, in fact, white. Anyway, lots to talk about this week. It is our season preview edition of the show, but there's lots and lots of other things to discuss before we look ahead to the League One season, before we preview our opening day fixture with Rotherham at Kingsmeadow, and before we play the second week of Nick Zan Every Second Countdowns, which I'm getting better at saying. It rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Just. But no, as I say, lots of other issues to discuss. And Stu, we're going to start by talking, of course we are, about finances, which I hate doing, but we can't escape from doing it, unfortunately, in this day and age. Where should we start with finances? Well, I've got a question for you. Waddy Downs, in an interview the other day, said that he had spent his playing budget for the season. There is no room for manoeuvre. No one else is going to be coming into the squad unless, I assume, players depart. We had our biggest budget ever last season, we were famously told, and this season I think it's safe to say it's not touching last year's levels at all. Not getting anywhere close to them. In fact, I would say we have a bottom, what would you say, 6 budget this year?
Yeah, I think so. What a way to start! What a way to start a podcast off. Finances, it's one of my strongest subjects, of course. Yeah, I think it's going to be a bugbear, isn't it? Yeah, well, I actually haven't listened to the Waddy interview. I've been working hard, as people will be struggling to understand or even believe. But yeah, he's sort of alluded to it, hasn't he? You know, we went from having the big number 9 and that didn't work out, and we signed for Levy, which he's not a big number 9. He's a number 9, but he's not your handsome replacement, is he? And I suppose that's where you go from, isn't it? It's difficult to understand the budget, and when you think about the players that we let go last year, and I think big earners. So let's claim. So we think about loan signings, for argument's sake. So we probably, to be fair, on Seddon we probably paid half a salary, and Bournemouth might have done us a favour. So we might not have saved a lot of money from that. However, if you think about Andy Bartram, senior pro, had to be one of our at least mid to top earners. James Hansen, Desi Ojalaja, Tom Sawers, of course, we let go during that time of it. Toby Civic would have been on loads of money, but we obviously got a fee for him. You have to wonder, when you think about the players we brought in, so, I'm naming, 4 or 5 players off the top of my head there.
Liam Trotter.
And then if you think, we brought in Nestor Guinness-Walker, who I'd be amazed again if he's anywhere near our top earner, because he was at Met Police last year and would have to prove himself. Adam Roscoe, again, a very easy sort of signing in terms of not much money. Luke O'Neill, I could think we might have had to, his free kick against Met Police certainly tells you he's going to command. He's a very good free kick taker. So you'd think an experienced pro, yes, he would. But would he be on, if you match him up, would he be on the same money as Andy Bartram? potentially.
Potentially, yeah. I was just going to say, your more senior pros, like your O'Neills, Rileys, Wagstaffs, Wordsworths, and obviously a Pyre, which I'm sure we'll come to. You're looking at those being your top earners at the moment, aren't we?
Definitely. And then Callum O'Reilly, who obviously... O'Reilly? I've just given him... I was
going to say, should we clear this one out? So it's just Riley, as in George Riley.
He's Irish, don't he? So why is he not O'Reilly?
Former EFL on 5 presenter. I can't answer that, Stu, because it's Riley. And Ross Grow, of course.
I keep calling him Roscoe, don't I? I keep calling him
Roscoe. You're thinking of Roscoe Desane, I think.
Yeah, let's just call him Roscoe. I don't want it. It's a silent R in my book.
Okay.
But if you think about it, Callum Riley, he cancelled his contract, didn't he? Did we have anything to pay for that, maybe, or did Steve Evans just go, "Oh, there's some money for you"? I'm joking. Of course, we don't encourage that. But obviously, he was cancelled his contract. We've taken him. But if you measure him up, maybe he's on the same money as Tom Sawers would have been. Don't think it'd been far short of that. So where is our money that we had? Where is the Dejan Larger money? Where's the Hanson money? That's a sizable chunk, isn't it? And I think football fans are not stupid. We can sort of do the maths and we go. But I strongly believe, and I could be wrong, but I think our budget might be a third less than what it was last year. And if it is, that's easily bottom 6. I say easily bottom 4.
We have to think that last season we were told that the playing budget was increased because we had, you have to get the wording carefully because people get upset if you get it wrong, but reallocating, is that the right word? Of stadium, or bringing forward stadium contingency fund money to boost the playing budget. Didn't really work though, did it? Let's be fair. We moved backwards last season. So logic would tell you if your spend, like you're suggesting there, we've cut a third of our playing budget. We struggled last season, cut budget by a third. It's just going to be another similar scenario, isn't it, in terms of on the field? I know we're going to talk about this more later, but that's what we've got to expect now, surely. And that has to readjust and realign expectations for the coming year.
You say that, but then Waddy's come out and said, well, based on how we finished last year, we would have been 13th. So I don't know about you, but I've heard that figure. I'm thinking, okay, so that's where we're looking. So that we're looking for the top half of the bottom part of the league. If you look at it that way, Premiership split into 3. You could argue League One could split into easy half and half, and we're aiming to be the top of the bottom half of League One. That's what I'm hearing. But I want to say I don't see it because I think Waddy produced miracles on what he had. But I think budget is, especially when we're looking at financing the ground and things like that. If someone come to me and said, well, a lot of the money actually has gone on to Plough Lane because of the shortfall, I can live with that. But I'm sort of looking at the surplus of money that we surely have had last year in terms of the cup run we had. And it just doesn't add up. And I just would rather the club be a bit more transparent if they can do, and just, if it's gone towards the ground, we'll all live with that. But at the moment, people are going, well, why can't we sign another forward? It looks like 1 in, 1 out at the moment, doesn't it? Either Piggott goes or Kwesi goes. But we still look pretty light in that department.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about forward and strikers a little bit later. I mean, I don't want to bang on about it too long because we have done already, but you make the point about money and where things have gone and things like that. We did have the Don's Trust notes meeting summary, or I think it was the minutes, wasn't it, recently from May, I believe, where it was mentioned that we had paid out staying up bonuses that were unbudgeted for. There is a question mark there as to exactly what that means. I assume that means, who knows? We're guessing, so there's probably no point going down that line now. But as you say there, it would be nice if we could get some clarity from the club to exactly what that meant and where those bonuses went. Obviously, how much money did we make from the cup run that went onto player bonuses as well? So can't do anything about it now. It is what it is. We have to just deal with the situation we find ourselves in. We can't change it now, but I think last season, more and more, Stuart's looking like a season of which massive lessons need to have been learnt from. And I'm pretty confident that with those in charge at the club now, that we will learn from them and we won't be repeating mistakes, but clearly mistakes were made. But as I say, it is what it is. And they're not mistakes that have landed us in the trouble that Bury and Bolton find themselves in. I know we're talking about finances. We can't go without talking about these two. both start the season on minus 12 points for for different financial irregularities and situations they found themselves in. Bury have not been given permission to start their season this weekend. Their game against an opponent has been postponed. Bolton will go ahead. You were looking at fixtures. Where did we say Bolton were? They at Wycombe, I think.
Yeah, so basically it's a relegation battle. First game of the season. And who would have said Wycombe versus Bolton is a relegation battle? Those two teams probably were potentially 4 leagues apart at one point, or 3 leagues apart at one point, and it's a relegation battle. There's no doubt about that. Bolton, yes, they've been saved, but they've had no pre-season. They've got a lot of trialists, and I don't see them doing much. And they're also on a minus points sign. I forget what minus points they're on at the moment.
12. It's 12.
It's 12. Okay, so they basically got to win 4 games before they can even get their head above water. Yeah, interesting.
I mean, I'm sick of these things. As I was saying to you before we started recording, it's just this endless saga of clubs finding themselves in financial difficulties and administration and minus points. And as we go through the season preview, I think we'll touch on Coventry as well, who have got ongoing issues. It just seems that why are these things... Surely, you know, when this first became a real issue for a good number of clubs, I mean, clubs always had issues. Aldershot, for example, they went out of business, didn't they, mid-season, and Newport County had problems years and years ago, and Brighton had their issues, and Doncaster had their issues. But the real crux of the issue for many, many clubs, where it really started to settle in with administration and what have you, was after ITV Digital collapsed, and that was 2002, 2003, wasn't it? Roughly around that time.
Yeah.
And yet, we are still having these situations 16 years on. Is that... I don't know if that is a governance issue. Is it fall squarely on the responsibility of the individual clubs? I mean, at the end of the day, it does.
Yeah, we've not. But you know, the ITV Digital. We were both around. Obviously, you were in nappies at the time.
About 7 or 8.
It's probably still in nappies then. But that's quite funny. Sorry.
I'm glad you found that so funny.
Shouldn't laugh at your own jokes. But that was understandable because obviously people had budgeted for that money that was there. But we haven't really had a situation like the Aldershot and Newport County went out of business at mid-season. But I sort of wonder sometimes now, the sort of problem's been caused by too much money, if you know. So the teams like Bolton are chasing a dream. So Bolton, when they got promoted a couple of seasons ago from League One, everybody knew that their budget was massively higher than everyone else in the league, and they went up quite comfortably. Then got to the Championship, tried to chase that, but obviously didn't have that. But it's like every club in the Championship is trying to chase that dream of one good season and get into the promised land. And you know, Sheffield United, look at what they've done. But the great thing about Sheffield United is they don't, from what I can see from the outside, don't seem to have actually put their future at stake by spending ridiculous money. If you look at the squad that Sheffield United went up with in the Championship, a lot of them still in League One. But it's like Bolton, when does it get to a stage where the EFL have to go, do you know what, you can't keep spending this ridiculous amount of money. You can't be coming into League One and being on minus 12. That's crazy. Bury, the other side to it, obviously got taken over, didn't they, halfway through the season. And they got promoted and they start on minus 12. If we were talking off camera then, obviously off microphone, as they call it. How does it look that a team that got promoted in runners-up position from League Two are now basically playing trialist after trialist? Like they're making trialists that it's going to go out of fashion. But it just doesn't make right. I still find it amazing that Bury are even allowed to be in League One. Because are you not encouraging teams to do this? Because there doesn't seem to be any punishment. If the EFL didn't have a rule in place that stopped them from being promoted, then where is it? Because there surely should be a rule now or something like that you can't be promoted if you're skint. There must be something they can do.
The latest with Bury is the statement that was released on Wednesday from their chairman, who just advised that their winding up petition from HMRC has been dismissed. So obviously they will still remain in business and they're trying to sort out all their various issues. Their chairman released a statement in which he said he had a go at fans that were being protesting at his house. And he has called their behaviour disgraceful. Photos of those concerned will be taken and names logged and lifetime bans issued. So what a messy situation the whole thing is.
If he doesn't sort it out, all the fans are going to have a lifetime ban, aren't they? Because there's going to be no club. It's pathetic, isn't it? You've got an owner there who reportedly, I don't think he's interested in football. I think there's other things that he might be more interested in. But yeah, -12. 2 teams on -12. Great for Wimbledon fans because it means that potentially 2 positions are already taken care of. But it isn't how you don't. It's not right. It's not how you want to look at a league table, is it? And I'm sure the saga would go on because I don't think the Bolton one's finished by any stretch.
Last bit about finances for the time being. Cedars Crowdfunding Stadium. The crowdfunding has begun, and at time of recording we have raised just over £1.1 million, 56% of our initial target of £2 million. So a strong start, a very long way to go still. And yeah, 7 million is what we're aiming for at the end of this thing. I think we're going to have to face up to the prospect of, and I don't want to sound negative or anything like that, this is fantastic that we've got 1.1 million already, and this hasn't been opened up to people that hadn't pre-registered yet. So this is nowhere near where we're going to end up with. But 7 million is still a very, very long journey. So I think we probably will still, at the end of the day, be looking at knocking on the door of the banks for a little bit extra. And perhaps that initial stadium that we were presented with, it was really a pipe dream. It really was, as we seem to be getting less and less. But at this stage, it's just a case of getting whatever stadium we can get, I think, and hoping we can get as close to the 7 million as we possibly can. But the start is strong, and that's encouraging.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? We have to accept that this is new. This is new ground. This is uncharted ground for a football club, from what I understand. No one's actually ever done I might be wrong, but I don't think I am. Makes any sense. That anyone's done like a crowdfunding towards a new ground. I can't recall that. So it is new ground, and the £2 million, the £2 million investment sought is, I think, mainly so that we don't look like because ultimately if we went for the £7 million, then actually we would be nowhere near. Well, we'd be 20% at the moment, and that doesn't look good if obviously you open it up to the public as such, and there's still a massive target to get. But we don't really know what it's going to do because it's still pre-launch people now, isn't it? At the moment, it hasn't been opened up yet to the public, and you just don't know. It could take off. I'm not trying to live in a dream world at the moment, but we are a unique club. We just are. There's a lot of love for Wimbledon, and you just wonder: are we going to get a major investment, or are we going to get some really big, significant ones? At the moment. The biggest one is 500,000, but from my understanding, is the pre-launch money that was just rounded. I think Cedars historically like to have a real big sort of pre-investment to make it obviously look like it's going to be £500,000. It's quite significant. I don't think that's one person. Could be wrong, but from my understanding, it isn't. But we've had a couple of people with 50,000, 16,000, 10 grand. So there's been some sizable individual donations. Nothing yet on the 100,000, which will then become a vice president, isn't it? Is that right? Vice president?
Yeah, vice president.
So that hasn't yet been done. We know we've got some quite rich fans. So again, are they holding off to the end? I don't know. I know where you're coming from in terms of what we were promised and what we're getting doesn't look the same thing. I think it's important though that we don't become despondent with it, because we are returning home. That's the ultimate line. Yes, at the moment we're building the structure, so everything below the ground is being built, and we're hoping that when it comes out of the ground that we can have the money to put the structure in. But I think it's important to keep it quite positive still. I know where you're coming from, but we are just probably under a calendar year now returning home, and I strongly believe that we wouldn't have opened up this investment and gone for such big investment if we weren't confident we had some nuggets under our under our hat. I'm making up new allergies here, and
you're making up new what? Sorry, that was amazing. That was
allergies.
No, do you mean analogies?
That's the word.
Not allergies.
Well, I could have an allergy, but I don't want to make up a new one because that could that could itch.
Maybe you've got an allergy to nuts under your hat, or nuggets under your hat, whatever it was.
This is what you get when you go off topic and you haven't thought about what you're going to say. But I feel that we have some big investment out there, but I'm quite excited. It's just really, it's like watching Comic Relief, and every sort of like 2 hours you get an update, and you get Lenny Henry going, how much we've now got. This is all money going towards our new ground, and yeah, I'm sure we'll discuss this more as we go through. But I don't know about you, but I'm really excited about it.
Oh, Stu, I've been waiting to go home for so long. I don't care what the stadium. I really don't care what the stadium looks like. I just want to make sure we actually get there. And as it stands, my understanding is that we have 60 days from the date of launch to raise that initial investment. So we've got 2 months to get the 2 million. I think we're going to hit that without many problems. It's just what happens after that. But yes, we cannot wait to be kicking off at a stadium in Wimbledon. That's all we wanted. We never actually discussed what that stadium would be like, did we? When we made that aim, when we made sure that no, we are not going to settle in Kingston. We are going to make sure we go home to where we should be, where we belong. And no one at that point was thinking about what the stadium would look like. It was just a case of getting a stadium. So happy days. Happy days. Right. Football. Finally. Wow. Very sorry for that long financial discussion. 2 items. Let's start before we get on to, because the pre-season friendlies, our last couple of pre-season friendlies, I think would link nicely into the season preview. So there is one other person I want to mention. That's Jeremy Sawyer, who has moved on to pastures new.
Yeah, a big loss. A big loss. Jeremy's been instrumental in the background of the academy with Mark Robinson. There's loads of names to mention, but we did an interview with Jeremy and Robbo and Mark Robinson many years ago, and really, I don't know about you, but that hour and a half or 2 hours that we spent with them was really, I come out really positive and really thankful for what a lot of the backroom people have put into the academy. And the irony of it is now is you're starting to see all these great kids coming through, and we've just Toby Civic being sold to Barnsley. He was a product of that and so forth, and Jeremy had a big influence within that. So sad to see him go. A really nice guy, and but he's moving on to West Ham, isn't he? I believe.
Yes.
So obviously he's just as much as the people that have come through the academy have got their dream move. Jeremy's got to move into a Premiership club, so I hope he does really well. But a big loss, I feel, for Wimbledon, and some big shoes to fill.
Yeah, echo those. Absolutely top guy. Wish Jeremy all the best of luck in the future. If you want to check out that interview we did with Jeremy and Mark Robinson, it is episode 60 of the podcast. You can find that on YouTube. Our full archive of every podcast we've ever done is on YouTube. youtube.co.uk/9YRS podcast. Search up for episode 60. And like I say, wish Jeremy all the best of luck. And it is a bit of restructuring. New, I guess, what's the word? New broom, kind of, at the academy, I guess, with both Mark Robinson and Jeremy Sawyer moving on to different roles now. But we wish everyone there the best of luck moving forward too. Right. Hampton Richmond, Hampton Redbridge, whatever they're called, and Crystal Palace, our last 2 pre-season friendlies. We beat Hampton 3-1. That seemed more like a first-team affair. The draw with Palace in a week looked like, to me, because I don't care about pre-season, looked a bit more like a reserve team fixture. But do we have hints now as to what the starting 11 will be for the real stuff on Saturday? Is that what we take from those games? Is the Hampton team likely to be closer to what we start with against Rotherham?
Yeah, I think so. I think for about, 7 or 8 of those, you probably would say you go into the starting lineup. I think we could probably all have a rough idea of what the squad, what the first 11 will be. I don't think it's... I think it's quite easy to pick it, if I'm being honest with you, barring a couple, maybe 1 or 2, but I don't think it's going to be too much. I don't think it's going to be a start of the season and go, wow, didn't see that coming. I think there's a few players that have done really well, and I think there's some good young academy players coming through that probably will get on the bench, and that's quite exciting in that way. But yeah, I think the Hampton game was closer. Obviously, the Palace game was a reserve fixture, wasn't it? Let's not beat around the bush. And I suppose one thing I would like the club maybe to learn from is I think that the cost of the tickets were probably a little bit higher than what they needed to be, bearing in mind that Palace didn't really bring a a strong team, and we didn't, because the fixture was obviously on the Tuesday before the season starts. So maybe the club can reflect on that maybe and look at the pricing for that, because I think there was a few grumbles with £15 being the cheapest ticket for what effectively was a reserve fixture.
Hampton 131, you were there. Just anything of note? Anything of note you took from that, or was it just pretty straightforward?
Yeah, straightforward. It was a good game actually, in terms of Hampton really wanted to kick us, which
you do surprise me.
Yeah, nothing. Old habits don't die. Don't leave them, does it really? Good test. Yeah, good test. We were always in. I think we were always in second gear. We didn't go into the 50-50s. We didn't really want to get ourselves injured. Really impressed with Callum Riley, who made his first showing in pre-season in midfield. Really like him. I think fans will quickly see what he can do, and I think he will be. I think fans will really like him. Very good age as well. 25.
Great age. What a great age.
Especially for a footballer. So
just in general.
Just in general. Good. Hampton, do you know what? I was quite happy with Hampton. Really nice bar. Friendly. You're going to laugh at me, but the catering...
I saw you put this on Twitter, oh my word.
Yeah, because I think you have to recognise hot chips. Who would have thought that? Hot chips. Freshly cooked chips. Salt and vinegar. Proper chip shop sort of salt and vinegar. Cold drinks. Who'd have thought that would happen? And then I have to say, obviously, I took my little boy Thomas to the game on Saturday, and I apologise for anybody that was he was getting in the way of. Thomas wants to walk now. He just wants to walk and walk and walk, and doesn't really care who's in his way. I like that from a little boy. But he was also impressed with the Hampton Richmond tuck shop. What? I know you'll laugh at me, right? But obviously having a child now and thinking about the market we're going to be looking at in terms of when we move back to Plough Lane is going to be families and stuff like that. They had a tuck shop with penny sweets and candy floss, and it sounds silly, but actually the bigger meaning to it is that the match day experience is so important. And I actually come away and I really felt I wanted to tweet that and thank them for that, because generally hot chips, hot food, amazing. Cold drinks, even more amazing. And a tuck shop. They catered for it, and it wasn't extortionate. I think a can was £1, a tea was £1, I believe, as well. It's just a tea bag. Just a tea bag. And great stuff from Hampton.
So Hampton was serving hot chips, and you had a hungry child, so I bet you were going there over and over and over and over. Sorry, that's a music joke. Very tenuous. I do apologise if you got that. I'm very sorry. Well, that's very nice. I'm very glad there was good food available at Hampton Richmond. Should we move on to the season preview?
Of course you can.
The first item on my list is catering. Which ground this season will have the best catering? What's your prediction?
Oxford.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Oxford was good last year. I think they had the pies, I think.
Oh, yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Hot pies. And a variation of pies. Even better. Who'd have thought that?
Variation of pies sounds like a good name for a stage play. Or a Booker Prize-winning novel. Right. See, it's funny you should start on Oxford, because I've got them down as one of my teams that nobody cares about this season, because I don't think they'll be one of those mid-table nothing teams, in my opinion. But let's not waste any time on them, because they have someone there that I don't like very much. Right. 2019, 2020, we've talked about budget and what have you. You talked about Wally's mention of finishing top of the bottom half. And my first question is going to be, starting with us, realistically, what do we think? I mean, the bookies have us 7-2 to be relegated and 12-1 to be promoted. And clearly we're going to finish nearer the bottom than the top. Wally did make that prediction based on our form at the end of last season. I'm just going to double-check exactly how many games it was at the end of the season that we were undefeated for. But you know what I'm going to say, Stu? There's one big, huge difference between last season's squad and this season's squad. And that is Aaron Ramsdale.
Yes, and there's no surprise that he walked away with some trophies at the end of the season for, I can't remember what he got now, but he walked away with some
thieving trophies. Is that what? Oh, I see what you're saying,
sorry. He was a massive influence on what happened last year. Whoever come in, even if we brought in someone like Casper Schmeichel, they'd have big boots to fill. But yeah, Nathan Trott's come in. hasn't done anything wrong pre-season, to be honest with you. I think it's a few people question some of the goals that have gone past him. It's pre-season. I'm not overly worried about that. From people that I talk to around the club, they really are impressed. He's very quick in terms of very quick around the box. Great leap on him. He is like a stick in set, but goalkeepers tend to be differently athletically nowadays, don't they? But he's got what I would ask, and from fans generally, obviously the fans that listen to our podcast, is let's just give him a chance, because I think it'd be very easy, if he, God forbid, he makes a mistake on the first game of the season or even like that, he's going to be under pressure. This is his first league club in terms of he's not played what they call men's football, the old saying, you've got to play in a proper man's league. He's not done that. He's played academy level, but he is an England under-20 goalkeeper. Let's give him a chance. One thing I would say about him, I love the way he dives. And you'll laugh about this, and people that have not seen him, he dives like Superman. That may sound funny, like I'm an adult, I'm not a child, but he dives like Superman.
Thanks for clearing that one up for us.
Yeah. Well, because it sounds like I'm sort of like Spider-Man, and I'm still infatuated by all that stuff. But
you were infatuated by Spider-Man, were you?
Well,
not Kirsten Dunst in the film. You weren't infatuated by her. You were more sort of Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, no, she's all right. But what I mean by that, if you see he dives very straight, and as if he's going to take off and go and save somebody. Yeah, that's my take on Nathan Trott, bless him.
Thanks. So don't pick him up too much, but he's like Superman.
I said this to Trev, who obviously does a kit and stuff, and he chose to look at me as if like, Stu, what are you on? And then he dived, and I said, see what I mean, Trev? And he just looked at me and laughed again. I thought I can see the resemblance. Not resemblance in Superman, but the way he dives. Anyways, next subject.
Well, let's just stick on the players for the time being, because we did ask on Twitter and Facebook about who our listeners thought would be our most important player this season. Are you saying Nathan Trott is going to be our most important player this season, or is there somebody else in the squad?
No, do you know what? There's probably a few that's probably going to be most important. I think Falevi's going to do really well this year. I'm not doing that just because you don't like Watford. But I really do feel that it looks like he's come back in pre-season. He just generally looks like he's taken all that confidence that he gained from the low move last year. But pre-season, he's been excellent. So he probably would be one of my players to watch. And Luke O'Neill at right back. To be fair, it's both our wing backs. That's what we're going to play this season. They're going to be wing backs. I think the key to our survival is going to be down the flanks, and it will be in the hands of Luke O'Neill and the great named Guinness Walker.
We asked, like I say, on Twitter and Facebook, so I'm going to run through these responses very quickly. First of all, the sort of one-word responses, and sorry guys for Twitter handles, I'm not going to do Twitter handles now because that'll take us forever and a day, but AFC Baggy said Wordsworth and or Nightingale. G Willow went for Trott. Phil Day says one who has not signed yet. Oh, sorry Phil, I think that's it. I think that's it for us with signings.
That's a bit ambiguous, isn't it? Not signed yet. Could be anybody.
But it's not, or nobody.
Gareth Bale?
Gareth Bale is not going to sign for us, Stu, I'm afraid. There's more chance of Alexa Bliss signing for us. Daniel Huckfield says the pig. Robert Adamo says Wordsworth. Matt says Nesta Guinness Walker. 20 assists incoming. Wouldn't that be nice?
Wow.
Sam says, not sure it's the same question, but he's looking forward to seeing Callum By this season. Convinced he's going to be great. Big season for Callum By.
You won't miss him, put it that way. He's massive.
He is huge. Nick somewhat optimistically said Tom Elliott. We'll come on to that later. James Bolton, Will Nightingale, Jeff Belland, Jack Belland. Sorry, that came out horrendously wrong. I'm really sorry, Jeff. That's going to stay in as well. That's unfortunate, wasn't it? Jeff Belland.
That's tickled me.
Says, Jack Rudoni. Now, what have you seen of Jack Rudoni, or should we call him Rudy?
Oh, sorry. Where was I? Yeah, do you know what? Rudy's been really good, actually. George really bigged him up, actually, and said, really good player in the academy. And George is the biggest one.
I was going to say, it's not like George to big up any of the academy players.
No, but George strongly believes, he's been involved in the academy back in the years, and George really does. He's great for me on terms of academy because I haven't seen many of them, but Rudy, you can see instantly why he's in and involved around the first team. He must be easily 6'2" already, 6'1", 6'2". Doesn't look like a kid. No disrespect to Hartigan, but when he came in at 17, you could tell Andy Hartigan was a kid. However, Rudy Reid has bulked out. Good going forward, good on the ball, likes the ball at his feet, likes to go forward. I really feel he could be one that really could get some game time off the bench, and I really do like him. I'm really impressed with him.
Michael says Luke O'Neill, David says The Pig, and Gary Lynch also says The Pig. Those were all on Twitter at 9Wireless Podcast. I'm going to get our Facebook ones now, so bear with me 2 seconds. James Anstey says Wordsworth or Wagstaff.
Interesting about Wordsworth, isn't it? Because hasn't played much in pre-season. What he obviously talked about, how did he describe the players that come back overweight? I'm trying to think now. He just basically they come in as bigger than what he thought. I think it's probably safe to say Wordsworth potentially could have been one of those. I think Wordsworth's got a big. It's a big season for him, I think, because he did well towards the end of last season, but he's now got to continue that into the new season. And yeah, I really hope he does well, because I think he really engaged with the fans last year, didn't he? I think really they did see him as one of the players that really got us, but he's obviously got to produce again on the pitch this year.
Yeah, and that's what James says. He says the pair of them, Wagstaff and Wordsworth, must start showing seniority to stand up to be counted. Jonathan Martin says Nightingale, lots of pressure on him as our figurehead now. Phil Rickaby's gone for Callum Riley. Says hopefully going to give us a bit of a link-up play and creativity. Jamie Bradbury, again, Wordsworth. He says he kept the morale going last season, was exactly what we needed. And says hopefully he'll be leading our promotion charge this season. Jamie, don't get carried away. And the AFC Wimbledon Supporters Poker Night, which is, if you christen your baby that, what do you expect them to grow up to do? I've got a feeling Wordsworth is going to be the most important player for us this season, just a hunch. So Wordsworth, like you say, Stu, getting a lot of praise and expectation. Richard Lonsdale says Radoni, goal scoring midfielder. Eugene Robson Piggott, Kevin Boris, Nathan Trott. Andrew Rutledge says Joe Piggott. And just go back to Twitter quickly, because there was some that I missed out because they sort of gave a little bit more expansion. Paul Leprake agrees about Nathan Trott, says, having watched preseason friendlies, our defence switches off too many times, but it's a worrying trend carried over last season when Rambo earned us many points. Yes, Ramsdale really was a godsend last season, he really was. Mark Hendricks puts out the point about substitutes, and someone like Connolly can maybe change things around. Connolly, with his pace against tiring defenders, always going to give you a chance if you stay in the game, doesn't he? That's surely where he's going to play. Well, that's surely going to be his role next season. And Dan went for Levy, like you said, Stu.
Yeah, what I would say, with pre-season, we have to realise that Trott didn't play with any we didn't play a same back three in any of the games. So, yes, we have switched off in certain times and looked a little bit like we're not communicating, but that's been the nature of this pre-season. I've not known a pre-season like it where we play so many different pairings or just different squads, and it's a totally different thing. So, hey, look, I might be wrong, but let's not read too much in it. I think I said it last week. This pre-season has been so different to the other ones. It's all about fitness and making sure that they hit the ground running on Saturday. So, let's hope we do that.
Yes, Saturday we start with Rotherham. We'll come on to that in a moment. So, right, back to our season preview and where we think we're going to be. And as I said, relegation 7-2 on average with the bookies, promotion 12-1. Just, Stu, very quickly, give us, for us, just so we've got us out the way, 442 magazine, I think, this month has gone 17th for us. Where do you put us?
Yeah, do you know what? I think 17th probably quite a good decent shout. Just because I'm a Wimbledon fan, optimistic, I'll go for 16th.
Very nice. Who are then our sort of, I don't want to say relegated, but who are the relegation candidates in this division? If we put ourselves in that bracket of, in terms of budget and in that realm, and we're talking 16th, 17th, possibly 18th place. Who are we contending against? Now, the bookies they seem to have gone, their bottom four, they seem to have fallen on. Now, I've taken Bury and Bolton out of the equation for this because they're going to be down there, and we know this, and we don't even know if Bury are going to be able to finish the season at this point. We don't know. So ignoring those two, the bookies' four most likely to be relegated appear to be Tranmere, recently, freshly, newly promoted from League Two, Rochdale, as always, I imagine, Wickham. I think we're all expecting Wickham to struggle again this season. And then Accrington Stanley. Do you think Accrington are going to struggle this season? I'm not sure they will. I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, Joe, I think it goes on size of club. So Accrington, small club, really punching above their weight. Anyone who knows Accrington will probably say actually they can hold their own. Rochdale, Tranmere. I still think Southend will be in trouble this year. They seem to... Southend have always gone on a decent budget, haven't they? But I don't think they've got a great one, if I'm being honest with you. But yeah, if you look around Southend, Shrewsbury as well, Rochdale's, they're going to be Gillingham. They're probably going to be your bottom eight, and we're going to be in amongst that, fighting our way out of trouble.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Gillingham there, because definitely they're on my list. I think you look at their squad, they've lost Tom Eaves. I think they are really going to be struggling this season. So, okay, promotion contenders then. Who's going to be at the other end? The bookies have gone for I've gone for the four here. The bookies seem to favour, which are, as you would expect, Sunderland, Ipswich, Portsmouth. Now, I think those three teams are going to feature on pretty much everyone's list to finish in the top six this season. The bookies have also gone for Peterborough. Now, Peterborough it's Darren Ferguson's gone back there now, hasn't he? Lots of money again. They always do this, but they always flatter to deceive. And I just don't have any confidence that they are going to be challenging for a top... Well, they might be in the top half, but I don't see them... I could be horrendously wrong on this one, but I just don't see it. I don't see it with the squad.
They are a difficult one to measure, aren't they? Because you're right, they normally bring in new players each year, and they take a little while to really get going, and then by the time they get going, they're a little bit behind in search of the playoffs. Joe, I did put in my predictions actually for placing wise, and just looking at it, I think Pompey will win the league this year. I really
It's interesting. That's what I was going to say as well.
Yeah, I really do. Because the big players are gone. Luton have gone. The big players are gone. There's some big clubs that have come through, and I just don't feel that the clubs being relegated are strongish. And actually, I've put Ipswich and Rotherham in my top three. I think they'll go straight back up. Ipswich, I don't think. Yes, a few senior pros have gone from Ipswich, but that's always going to be the case because they're not going to come into League One. But signing Norwood makes me think that they've actually got their head screwed on and realise they need a League One, League Two forward who's been around the block, not someone who's spent their life in the Championship. And Rotherham, they got Smith and I just get his name confused. Lapido, isn't it?
Ladapo.
That's it, Lapido. I don't know why I call him a Lapido or wherever he's going to go. He sticks around too long. But it's quite a good forward line, isn't it? That thing. So I think my promotion will be Pompey, Ipswich, and Rotherham. Yeah,
Portsmouth are mine. I think they've signed Marquise as well, haven't they? Now from Doncaster. Okay. Doncaster might be a shout. Actually, as a team that could be struggling this season as well.
Well, yeah, because Marquise has he gone to Pompey or he's going to go to Pompey?
I'm going to just double check. But last I thought he had actually gone, but let me just double check that whilst you entertain the listeners.
Well, I can entertain them anyways. I suppose what I've gone. You're talking about.
Wow.
You talk about Peterborough, and I actually have got them in my playoffs. So I'll tell you who I've got in my playoffs. You'll probably laugh at this. Peterborough, Burton. My dark horses this year is Lincoln. And I think Blackpool are going to have I think Blackpool will be in the top.
This is really scary, Stu. That we've
pretty much agreed.
We've almost gone like for like. So
really?
Well, nearly. If you were to give me your top six, so you said Portsmouth, Rotherham, Ipswich, Burton, Lincoln, and Blackpool. Is that
yes?
Right. So I have put pretty much the same. I've put Sunderland in my top six.
I forgot about them.
I think Portsmouth will win.
Forgot about Sunderland.
That's a big one to forget. But no, Portsmouth I think will win the league, and Marquise has signed for them, undisclosed fee. Kenny Jackett. It won't be pretty, by the way. The two teams that get promoted automatically this season are not going to be anywhere like playing the football that Luton and Barnsley did last season. Nowhere near. But Burton, yes, I had Burton and Lincoln in mine as well. And Blackpool I've put down as my dark horses. with one player we'll come on to in a second. But why do you think Burton and Lincoln? Because I think these are the two interesting ones for me.
Well, I just think Lincoln have got money to spend. I think they've got a very good Giro manager team in there as well, who I've always liked, to be honest with you. I think they're very good. But they also, if you remember, when they had that cup run, they got a lot of money from that cup run. They reinvested it to get out of, that's why they were one of the favourites to come out of League Two last year. But momentum is that massive thing, isn't it, that we want to talk about. But I think it's going to be a difficult place to go to. They are special up there in Lincoln. And I just don't know. I think they're going to keep that momentum, and I think they can invest if they need to. I've looked at their transfers actually, and they haven't really spent loads. So, but actually, I don't know if you had a quick, you probably did actually, because we're looking at, we're going to go on to our top 5 transfers later. But there's not been lots and lots of business done in League One, considering what I remember last year at this point. So, bearing in mind the window is open for an extra month, isn't it, to the end of August? I sort of sense people are keeping their money until the Championship clubs and the Premiership clubs have done their business, and then everything will ripple through down to us. But I still think they're going to improve their squad, so that's why.
And Burton,
I just think I think they acclimatised last year. I think they were a very strong team. They beat us quite comfortably at home. To be fair, everyone beat us at that point anyway, so it doesn't really count. But I just think they're very stable. I just think they're no frills, but they know League One, and I think I don't think there's an outstanding league to me this year. Doesn't look as top heavy as it has in the years before, like from really big clubs. I don't really think Sunderland would do that great. I know I said I forgot about them. I didn't forget about them. I just don't really see them being up in a mix because they're not going to have that £2 million parachute payment they had last year. So I think they're going to not struggle. They're not going to be relegation anywhere near there, but I just don't see them doing much. So Burton, I just think have acclimatised very well, and I think they'll be a very above average League One team, which will be enough, in my opinion, to get in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, use the phrase "no frills" there. I think that sums up for me what this league's going to be like next season. I've already mentioned the football of Luton and Barnsley is not going to be there. Portsmouth are not an exciting team to watch, but they'll ground out results, and I think it goes for a few of those teams. Rotherham certainly. Do you know what a lot of these teams have? And you mentioned it there with James Norwood as well, and we must mention on Ipswich, Tom Elliott was meant to be joining them at one point, but that got delayed because of his injury problems, which is probably advantageous for us. But these teams, they have that old-fashioned, like we were saying many years ago, that every team has, that big lump up front, which at this level makes such a huge difference. And that's what we've not got. I saw one season preview that referenced Joe Pigott as being a combative physical presence up front, and I thought, you've not seen Joe Pigott play. We are missing that lump. Unless you think Roscoe or Tommy Wood fill that role, but it's not what I understand them to be.
No, but I'm just being nosy, actually, just checking on what's happening with Lincoln and stuff. And actually, the leading story at the moment is they're set to land Walker on loan from Forest, who scored bucket loads of goals at
Tyler Walker.
Tyler Walker, so the son of Des Walker. For the older fans in here, you won't know who he was. But yeah, so they literally get him on loan. So if you think about John Kindy and Tyler Walker up front, that's a deep. If you can, you can't help but compare it against our forward line. It's a different league, isn't it?
It is, like you said, it's almost two leagues in one. Blackpool, by the way, I mentioned them as my dark horses, and you've gone for them in the playoffs as well. I think they did well last season. They seem to be settling now with all the ownership issues and whatever. Manager's pretty decent. And they've got Solly Kaikai. Now, this is an interesting player. You have to wonder that something about him clearly isn't quite... The dots aren't joining for him, are they? Because he's a player that's more talented than you think at this stage of his career than Blackpool in League One, with all due respect. But if they can get the best out of him, then they've got a fantastic player there. So, yeah, I think they'll be challenging top 10, top 8. Whether they get in the playoffs, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I just think they could get a run. I just was being nosy, actually, the capacity, because it always feels quite a bigger ground at Lincoln, but it's actually only 10,000 capacity. But whenever I've not been to Central Bank, but when I know people that have, and it's a very compact and very tight stadium, so everyone's on top of you, basically. I just think that will give them that home advantage. I really do. I'd be amazed if they don't finish in the top half, but I really do think that the Cowley brothers will work their magic. If you look at their record, they've got such a great record with promotions. They've probably done very well to keep hold of them, but it wouldn't surprise me if they rewarded them with quite decent contracts when they had that cut run, because I think that was really deserved as well.
People don't think we're obsessed with things beginning with L, be it Luton, Lyle, or Lincoln. But
Lyle, we haven't mentioned Lyle yet.
Well, we just did. Any thoughts about Blackpool at all? I know you love Lincoln, but anything about Blackpool?
I just think, it's great that if you think about the fans up there, they stuck by their guns and they really did make sure and force the owners out of the club. And you only have to see the amount of fans that turned up once that had all been solved. And Blackpool is a big city. Is it a city or a town? I don't know. It's a big place.
I don't think it's a city.
No, it's a big place. I just think with a real big that fan momentum in terms of I think that will sell out. Not sell out, but I think that'd be a big attendance most weeks. And they don't. You think about what Blackpool did without any fans, without all that trouble going, on. They still did reasonably well in League One last year. I just sense they're going to have a real big push, and that's my reason for it.
Very quickly, teams that we don't care about this year that are going to do absolutely nothing, that I'm not interested in whatsoever. Oxford, we've already mentioned. Shrewsbury, they're going to do absolutely nothing this year. They're going to be bang mid-table. No one's going to pay any attention to them whatsoever. So that's that said. Top 5 transfers. Now, I've not put James Norwood in my list.
I did.
Yeah, only because I put someone else from Ipswich there and didn't want to do 2 Ipswich signings. But clearly, we're expecting big things of him this season, so he's probably your number 1.
Yeah, do you know what? I haven't put this team as being in the top 7 of it, but my biggest one was Josh Morris going from Scunthorpe to Fleetwood.
Interesting. Because
if you look at his record, if you play Scunthorpe, what are the dangers? Free kicks. If you look at it, he scored 35 goals in 3 seasons as a winger. But I just think it's a really good move. I think it's a free, if I remember properly as well. So, because I don't know if you remember, at one point there was rumours that he was being targeted by Championship clubs, and I think Scunthorpe done their best to keep hold of him as much as possible. But he's gone to Fleetwood. Fleetwood could be your outsiders. I haven't put him in my top 7, but Josh Morris is my one of my sort of top 5 transfers.
Who else have you gone for then? So you've gone Norwood, Morris.
Yeah, I've gone for Ladapo at Rotherham.
Yeah,
I just think I think it's a great signing in terms of, him and Smith up front. Rotherham, big, ugly, horrible team. You don't want to play them on a midweek game. You don't want to play them at any point. They're just horrible. They're going to beat you up. Don't want to play them at all. Can we just do a bury and just not play them? Bad joke.
No,
anyway,
not. No.
Do you want me to go for my other 2?
Yeah, sure.
So, I think David Wheeler's gone to Wickham. We were interested in him when he was at Exeter. Had a really 33 goals in 149 games. Had a really good season before he left in 2017. Went to QPR, didn't work out. I think it's a good signing for Wickham. I really do. He's on a free, and he was at one point looking at about £1 million signing. So I think it's really good. And I thought I'd go for one of my random ones. So when I was looking through players moving, I picked a player that's gone to Southend, who's going to be... So if you think about with Roscoe this year signing, we're looking at players and Guinness Walker. So I think it's very much important that we try and pick up those gems that have done well in non-league. Southend looks to have done that in... So a player called Brandon Goodship, they signed from Weymouth, who was Golden Boot winner last 2 seasons, 38 goals one season, 39 goals last year, was at Weymouth. They're down in the Southern Premier League, but I just think they've gone for a punt. So I think that's what clubs are going to have to do. I think it's what we should be doing. We've done that with Roscoe, and hopefully that works out. Very similar level. So he's my sort of top 5 in terms of very much one that could go either way.
Interesting. We agreed on Ladapo. I had Ladapo in mine. The other ones I've gone for very quickly. Ipswich, they've got Luke Garbutt on loan from Everton.
Yeah,
yeah. I think that's why I expect Ipswich to do well this season. I don't think they're going to struggle in the way that some teams do when they get relegated, when the big clubs get relegated to this level. Jack Bonham. If Gillingham have got any chance of staying up this season, I think him going there is a big one for them. That's probably an Aaron Ramsdale type situation where they're looking for the goalkeeper to get them out of trouble, but I still think they're in big trouble. Jack Payne, who was at Bradford last season, I know they got relegated, but I thought he was their best player He's gone to Lincoln, so that ties in with your thinking about maybe Lincoln being challenging. And then I know I've said I don't care about them, and they won't have a very good season or a very interesting season, but part of the reason is they've got Steve Morrison, and that is Shrewsbury. And Steve Morrison, experienced campaigner, big, I think, a leader in a squad, someone the team will look up to. I think that's an important signing for them this season. So I look to see how he does or how he fares.
You know, you were talking about clubs you just don't care about. This is a weird one. Bristol Rovers are in that category.
Oh, yeah.
I don't really care.
No one cares about them. Literally
I don't
nobody.
care about them, but I do. That makes no sense.
No, that
at
makes
all.
no sense at all.
I don't want to care about them, but I want to beat them.
Why?
Because they're just a horrible... I don't like their ground. Bristol Rovers is a really horrible ground to go. Every time I've been there, we've got beat. They do great... To be fair, though, they do great local pies.
His
and
catering
pasties.
was going to come in just somewhere along the line.
But they're just a team I don't like. But it bothers me that they beat us and they think they're a big club. They are a big club in Bristol. Well, they're not, actually.
No, they're not. They're really not.
But and nothing against Bristol. Well, no, there is against. Bristol Rovers fans just think they're bigger than what they are. You're a League One club. You're not very good. You've got a stupid kit. And I just don't like them.
Blimey, where's this come from? I'm a little bit scared now, to be honest with you. We've unlocked some hidden hatred of Bristol. I mean, Watford, fair enough. But Bristol Rovers?
Well, I just don't... It's something about them. It's their kit. It's like... I remember one year we went there and they put you in the side terrace and the sun was literally out of the whole game and just blinded us. And it just... I don't know. Just don't like them.
Okay. Have you spoken to someone about this? I think you need to get these issues out.
It's just a weird club. Bristol is a lovely city. But yeah, I don't like them.
Okay. Do you want to give us a prediction for where they're going to finish in the league this season?
Don't care.
Okay, brilliant. We'll finish this off. We've sort of said we'll finish around 16th, 17th, 18th. That's where we think we're going to be. Bury and Bolton to both go. Who would you pick as the other two that would actually go down?
I probably would go for Rochdale and Tranmere.
Interesting. Okay, cool. I guess what we should do now is look at Saturday, which is opening day, where we are visited by Rotherham, what we've mentioned. So let's run through these. Rotherham were relegated from the Championship last season. And so far in 2019, they played 21 league games. They lost 11 of them. They only won 4 of them. So they are, like we said, we've both got them in our top 6, but they are having to reverse a bit of a losing trend at the start of the season. They've only had one away win all season, and that was at QPR in March. So similar again to when they last got relegated from the Championship. I don't think they won away from home all season, that campaign. So again, they've got that psychological barrier to cross when they kick off at Kingsmeadow on Saturday. Same manager, Paul Warne, who's overseen he's been there 2.5 years. First half a season he was there, they ended up getting relegated. Then they got promoted the following season, relegated last season. So a bit of a yo-yo club. But they have lost. We've talked about signing Freddie Ladapo, which is a good signing. They also got Carlton Morris, who was on loan when Shrewsbury had that great season a couple of years ago. Loan from Norwich, I believe. So they've got forward options there. Smith, Ladapo, Morris. Lost Semi Ajayi. He's gone to West Brom, who until I was doing the season preview, didn't realise Slaven Bilic was now in charge there. Don't know what's that about. But anyway, we've got them to finish in the top 6. They are favourites. One of the favourites to be promoted. Odds of 7-2 on them to go up. And our record against them is not great. I'm not expecting anything from this on Saturday. What do you think?
Well, yeah. So I said, it's a team you don't want to play. They're horrible, ugly, beat you up and stuff. However, my caveat to that is if you're going to play anybody on the first game of the season, you really want a club that's not used to winning. So you basically want a relegated team. We didn't get Bolton, so I suppose you get Rotherham in that case. In fact, we didn't get Ipswich early on, apart from a midweek away game. I think if we're going to get a result, it's going to be the first game of the season. So I think everyone goes in there with optimism and stuff like that. So call me stupid, start the season. I think we'll win against Rotherham purely for the fact is that we've got them at the right time. It's a long season. Nothing's won on the first game of the season, but I think we'll win against them just purely for the fact of we get them at the right time and we're at home, which is always a great start for the season.
And what looks like very close to being sold out in the home areas. I imagine they'll bring quite a decent following, actually, because it's the opening day and Last time they played here, it was a midweek game, so I imagine their fans will travel in good numbers. So close to capacity, Kings Meadow, should be a good atmosphere. I still think it's a tough ask because of the quality they've got, so I'm going to say it's going to be tight, but we're going to probably lose 2-1. Score, you're going to go for a 1-0, 2-0 win?
Yeah, I'm going to go for maybe I'm going to go for a 3-1 win, I think.
We aren't used to losing. We finished last season with 1 defeat in the last 12, so hopefully that momentum carries over.
And on the attendance side of it, I did actually phone the club this morning, as of...
This morning? Blimey, it would have been early. It's 6 o'clock this goes out on Friday.
I had it on a Thursday morning, and there was only a few of the Rygas Terrace tickets left. So, yes, if they haven't all gone by the time you listen to this podcast, unless you listen to it after the game, don't bother buying the tickets because the game's finished. Get in there quickly because I think it's going to be a sellout at Kings Meadow.
Do wonder how many people... We thank all of our listeners who download this first thing on a Friday morning, previously on a Thursday morning, but now on a Friday morning, and listen to it as soon as it comes out. Thank you very much. Be very interested to hear from those of you that are listening to this on Saturday morning as you make your way to the stadium. If that is you, if you do that every week on your travels to a game, please let us know. Contact us on Twitter at 9YRS Podcast. Right. We are running very late, but it is the season preview edition, so it's always a little bit longer than the normal. So, Stuart, it's now time for Nick Zan Every Second Countdowns.
Cool.
I'm going to give you in a second the. I suppose I should cue up the music, shouldn't I? I'm going to give you what list of things I would like, and when I start the music, you're going to give me as many as you can inside 30 seconds.
Okay.
So, do you want the list of things I'm looking for?
Yes.
Well, this season, Stu, will be as unbelievably, and this is quite scary to think. So how many years did it take us from setting up as AFC Wimbledon to regaining our place in the Football League? How many years, Stu?
Well, how would I not know that? It's 9 years.
It is indeed. And do you know that this season, Stu, marks our 9th season back in the Football League?
Okay.
How scary is that?
It's flown by. We just said it's the 2019-2020 season. That makes me feel old.
Yes, it makes me feel old, and I'm only 25. So 9th season, what I'm going to ask you, Stu, is as it is opening day of the league season this Saturday, I would like you to name every single player that has scored for us on the opening league game of the season since we returned to the Football League in 2011. There are 9 names on this list, which is quite somewhat poetic.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
Danny Kedwell.
No, because he didn't play for us in the Football League.
Oh, damn. Failed on the first one. Vincent.
Yep.
Jolly.
No.
Luke Moore.
No.
Sammy Moore.
No.
I've run out of forwards. Joe Pigott.
No. Yes.
Hey. Who else played for us? Steve, I don't know.
Lots of players played for us, Stu.
That's quite off-putting, that music.
You got 2.
Yeah, I know. I ran out of forwards after Kedwell.
My work. I can't believe you started with Danny Kedwell.
Okay.
I can't believe there's one name on this list, Stu. I cannot believe you have not put. This is unbelievable. This is actually enough to. I mean, I'm going to sack George for this.
Do you know what the funny thing is, right? And people probably be laughing, right? But that music's very off-putting, by the way. But also,
that's the point.
But also, I sort of thought as far back because obviously 9 years. I thought, right, we start at the start of the league, and I forgot who played for us, and I forgot about the present people until I went to Pigott. Oh, I forgot Lyle, didn't I? Tom Elliott.
You did indeed. No, none of them scored for us on the opening day.
Really?
Yep, the full list. So you've got Jack Midson, scored against Chesterfield 2012, Joe Pigott, Fleetwood last season. Jamie Stewart and Charles Adamino.
Oh, Bristol Rovers.
Yep, Bristol Rovers again, your favourite club. Harry Pell.
Oh.
At Torquay. Sean Rigg and Matt Tubbs against Shrewsbury Town at home, I think 2014. Lyle, our first goal in League One, the penalty away at Walsall. George had a great view of that goal, by the way. Hi, George, we know you're listening. Jimmy Abdu at Scunthorpe.
Oh, wow.
And that was then Joe Pigott, as you mentioned. So there you go, there's the 9.
I done well, didn't I?
No, you didn't. Moving on.
Yes, please.
I do like that game. Very quickly then, because we're going to round off the show now. Quick update from the ladies who have got friendly games going on. They beat Dulwich 4-1 last week. They have a friendly with Ashford this Sunday at 2 o'clock if you can make it to the Matthew Arnold School in Staines. I think, is Matthew Arnold that guy on ITV, like the celebrity guy? I don't know. Don't forget, though, their season for real kicks off on the 18th of August, so a few more weeks for them away at Ipswich Town. Now, before we sign off, Stu, and do all the usual, I think we all just want to pass on our condolences and our thoughts and prayers to the family of Steve Tallboys, who passed away suddenly at the age of 52 this week. So everyone on the podcast, everyone at the club, I'm sure, all our fans, send all our best wishes to his family at what must be a unbelievably sad time. Updates from Twitter, on Twitter, from Saturday's game with Rotherham at 9YRS Podcast. Follow us on there if you want all the latest from the Rotherham game. And then don't forget to keep an eye just on all our social media, 9YRSpodcast.org. We have got fixtures wallpaper that I have put together finally. You can download that from our website, 9YRSpodcast.org. And as I mentioned earlier, our full archive of shows is available on YouTube, youtube.co.uk/9YRS podcast. And then Love Sport this Sunday returns again for an hour of AFC Wimbledon chat, 8 p.m. And we'll look to put that out on iTunes as well some point on Monday. Other than that, that is the end of our season preview show. Stu, thank you very much for joining me.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Alexa Bliss, bag first, milk last, and we will speak to you again next Friday. See, I remembered to say Friday this week. Last week, I don't know if anyone noticed, I said Thursday, but then I was going to record myself saying Friday and then edit it, but I just couldn't be bothered to get the microphone out and do it all, so I just copied me saying Friday from earlier in the podcast and repeated it. That's so lazy, but you know.
Shocking. Friday. Podcast comes out on a Friday.